Hello and welcome at lesson 2. In this lesson we will talk about the different versions. So what versions are available and what system requirements do they need and how this might fit in your network. So the first one is EFT has two versions. It has what they call normal EFT and they have EFT Icarus. The normal EFT is something that you use on-prem, so you have your own infrastructure where you can use it. And the EFT Icarus is a cloud-based solution. So if you have a very small network and you wish to transfer information, then it's more easier to use their cloud-based solution instead of having everything in your own network. So like mentioned before, if you have the normal EFT, when you go to the website, you sign up for example, a trial, then you get an email like this. And it will say like you have with SQL or without SQL server. Or if you download them, it might say the names as DB or no DB. The difference is this. So if the one it comes with a database, from Microsoft, and the other one does not. It can be used if you wish to, like for example, test it locally. Then having a database run locally is more easier. However, if you wish to really implement this in your network and you wish to have a separate database with all your logging, then you would go for the NoDB version. Well, these are the system requirements that EFT would require. There is Windows Server 2019, 2016 and 2012 support. I personally tested 2022 and this works fine too, so maybe you can look into that. Furthermore, EFT has a certain RAM requirement like any other software. They say a minimum is 2 gigabytes free, but personally I would at least go for 4, because if you have 2 gigabytes of free memory, Windows sometimes can clog up your memory a little bit more. So I would just go at least for 4, and you can have 4 gigabytes of extra in case you wish to use some of their cloud plugins. If you do not wish to use those, then I think 4 gigabytes would be more than enough. And at the same, like they have given a recommendation for CPU, a dual core or of at least 2.5 gigahertz, or a quad core or an 8 core, depending on how much you're going to use it. From personal experience, a dual core or a quad core is more than enough. Even if you have a bigger environment already, then it should be more than enough for you to use this. Only if you would like have large file storage, large amounts of data that you wish to push over, then maybe you can look into 8 cores. Next to the EFT can also use what they call an EFT gateway. This is a DMZ gateway, as they mentioned themselves. This DMZ gateway is something that you would place in front of the EFT server so that it can have an extra secure connection. And this one also has his own system requirements. This can also be a Linux machine, starting version 3.5. Anything below that, it was only Windows, but now it also supports Linux. And for that, they call it 2 CPUs, but they just mean 2 CPU cores, what is required, and 200 MB of hard drive space. And the data is not stored, like mentioned here, the data is not stored on the DMZ gateway. It is just forwarded. It's just used for for processing. As mentioned before, as you can see here, that no data is ever stored in the DMZ gateway. It's not cached there or so, it's just used for authentication purposes. So it's not needed to store large amounts of files there. So more disk space than this is not needed to. And 1 gigabyte of RAM is more than enough for running it. I would say it's 1 gigabyte is enough if you are running Linux. However, if you wish to run Windows, then again I would go for 4 gigabytes of RAM. And last one is it should be maximally 1 hop away, because you are negotiating the file path. And the last requirement they say is it should be maximum 1 hop away. This is depending on your infrastructure, but it is mostly meant because you want to have it in a close proximity, because if you have more hops in between it, then the data is no longer securely transferred.